Okay, so what were you scared about episode 6? I told you it was good and you said I was scared. What?
I don't know. I was just worried when I listened back to it. I just thought I came across as too bitchy. I don't know. I felt like I was moaning a lot.
I get what you mean.
I was a bit.
So I almost cut parts of it out just to make it shorter. But then you address it. There's 2 lines in there that I like. And one is you say Kanye rant over. And I
stole that line.
Well, now we have to, I don't care if you stole it or not, now we have to keep the whole rant in there just so I can have that line.
Yeah, okay.
As you continue to get more like frustrated, you go, see, now I'm heated.
Now I'm upset.
I was gonna shorten it down, but then I was like, it's real and you address it. It's not just like somebody on a soapbox. You know what I mean? Like, you address what's happening.
Self-awareness.
But then it's, yeah, exactly.
Hello everyone and welcome to episode 7 of Is This Thing On Podcast with myself, Michael, and my dear friend, Alysia. Hello Alysia, how are you?
Hey Michael, what's up? How's your day been?
Fine. I'm actually having one of those days. I don't know what it is. You wake up and just... You wake up, it's one of them days. But it's okay. I have my podcast therapy session with you, so I'm fine. So everything is fine. We're going to have an awesome episode today. Tell me about you. How is everything going in the Dubai?
The Dubai is fine. It's getting hot, which I don't know if I like or not. But
does it make you want to go back into lockdown even more? Just so you can stay inside?
No, because it's like the kind of hot where you kind of want to go to the beach.
Ooh.
So you're kind of tortured a little bit. Like, so you go sit on the balcony and because I live like in JBR, right? So
yep.
I can see the ocean. And I'm like, wouldn't it be nice if I could dip my toe in there?
And then you sort of like put your imaginary foot on the sand and then realize how much pain it would cause you because it would burn the hell out of you.
Look at that helps.
That's a Dubai beach experience, so don't worry, you ain't missing nothing. Let us jump straight in. I have 2 pieces of news for you to react to. One is a zoo in Tokyo. It's an aquarium. They've been closed since the 1st of March, obviously, because of Corona time. And they're starting to worry about their eels in the aquarium because the eels have become so used to seeing hundreds and hundreds of people a day coming through the aquarium and like looking up with their face against the glass. And so the eels have gotten used to this, and it's become kind of like part of their behavior that they peek their little head out and come and look, and then look around as people are moving around, and it's adorable. I'll send you a picture of them. Super cute. But the problem is that now that there are not hundreds of people a day, the people that are running the aquarium have become concerned because they're not popping their head out to see the people anymore because there are no more people. So it makes it really difficult for the people running the aquarium to check if they're healthy.
Aww.
So they've actually put out, like, they've literally said it here, it's an emergency plea for people at home to call in and do like a Zoom chat with the aquarium so that the eels can get used to seeing human faces again and like come out so that the aquarium people can check that they're healthy.
Oh. Okay. I just want to hang out with the eels now.
Yeah, so it's the Tokyo's Sumida Aquarium, and so what they're doing is they're like putting like a massive tablet in front of the aquarium, in front of the glass, and the little eels are sort of like popping their heads out. Come and say hi. It's really good.
That's the greatest thing ever. Oh my gosh.
But can you imagine it though? Like the places like this, aquariums, zoos, things like attractions like that, they kind of, it's unfortunate because there's kind of, what are you going to do? Like you've got all these animals that require, and from an operational perspective, you can imagine how incredibly difficult it is to fund the feeding and veterinary care of thousands of animals if you ain't got no tickets coming through the door.
Yeah, well the thing is I have my beliefs on those places as far as having
Sure.
animals in those
Sure.
kinds of places
Sure.
for entertainment. So maybe it's karma. But also there was a story, and this is taking away from your lighthearted story because it's about to get dark. There was a zoo, and I can't remember where it was, but they were talking about having to feed some of the animals to the other animals.
Oh no.
And I was like,
yeah, you made
what?
that dark. You made that dark.
Yeah, exactly. But this is my problem. Like, okay, it sucks, but inherently these places shouldn't be run in the first place. There's places like, okay, in Southern California, like where I'm from, there's there's laws about interacting with like sea life. Like you're not allowed to touch them. If you get caught like touching a seal who's on the beach, like you get fined for it. Like you're not allowed to interact with them. But they have also like sanctuaries, places where like, so one day we called a place and there was a seal, but it was baby. It was like a baby. Again, we're not allowed to interact with it. But
as opposed to an adult baby, it was a baby.
But I mean, like it was little.
Really small.
Like it was like this big. Like it wasn't.
Yep.
It was just tiny, yeah. And it couldn't get back in the water. The waves kept pushing it out.
Oh no.
And so we called one of the rescues, and they're like, look, here's the thing, like we'll have somebody come check it out, but do not touch it. Like do not interact with it, especially because it's that young. It gets familiarized with people too much to the point where they start leaning on people, like those eels, where now they're like kind of so used to human interaction that they depend on it. Anyways, long story short, there's places that rescue animals that need it if their family was poached and it's a baby, you know what I mean? And they're not going to survive in the wild regardless, or if they got injured really bad and they're not going to survive in the wild. But realistically, most of these places aren't rescues. They're just for-profit zoos.
Carol Baskin. I'm just putting it out there.
I'm obsessed with everything Carol Baskin right now. Have you seen the TikTok?
I've seen all of the TikToks. Have you seen the
TikTok for the Savage one?
Where do you... Yes, of course. That's the reference. Well done. It's funnier when you explain it. Nicely done. Yes, that's precisely the one I'm referring to.
All right, so Michael's in a great mood today. Jeez.
I'm not sorry. Okay. So you made that really dark. So let's move along to the next headline. So the next headline comes from CNN Business. It's still quite wholesome. So it's super short. I'm not going to give you too many details, but it's just a nice little bit of wholesome news in the world of large corporate entities. A whole load of employees are now obviously having a really tough time. Plenty of layoffs, plenty of redundancies, furloughs, whatever you want to call it. And it begs the question, how do CEOs that are making millions, and they're still making their salaries and all that, but obviously there's plenty of people that have lost their jobs and are making zero. So this CEO, his name is Larry Connor. He's the CEO of the Connor Group. He made a lot of money on the stock market. He made $1.6 million in just 8 days. And he's giving it all away to all of his 400 employees. So he's taking that 1.6 million that he made in 8 days and he's giving it away to all of his employees.
Yes, Connor.
So big up Mr. Larry Connor. Good dude. So yeah, not too much in the way of details, but
that's great because me and my flatmate were literally just talking about this. As far as we've talked about this before, as far as the paycheck plan in the U.S. and there not being regulations on how that money's spent, as far as like making sure that they're not letting go of employees, right?
Right.
There's no like regulations set in place for that. And then that's what we were talking about is that, so all this money is going to the top of the economy, right? Like the 1% who are already wealthy. That money's not coming back down. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like, that's not
absolutely.
how you stimulate an economy. You need to stimulate it from the bottom up, right? And so That's exactly what this guy did. He's like, he gave it all to his employees, and that's how you stimulate it. You're giving it to a bunch of people who are then going to circulate that money back into the economy. Connor.
Mr. Larry Connor. So I'm actually super. It's almost a Robin Hood moment. And that makes me very happy. Because the piece of content that I want to talk about is, drum roll please. You can throw some actual drum roll noises on top of this on the video. But it's Money Heist.
Yes.
So I have this thing. And the same thing happened with Game of Thrones. The same thing happened with a bunch of TV shows. I'm not interested in the hype. I don't like the hype. I don't watch it just because a bunch of people are like, oh yeah, you should watch this. Da, da, da. If someone says that to me, not at first.
But you came into the hype.
Of course, no, but that's the point. It's not the hype. But listen, by the time it's season 5, it's not about hype anymore. It's not about people like, oh my god, I'm watching the show. It's the first season. It's so good. You should watch it. No, shut up, Steve. I don't want to watch it. Don't talk to me about any show that's in season 1 because I'm going to get attached and the creators are going to stop making it and then I'm going to be sad. So I don't want to hear it. I don't want it. So
if it's not 5 seasons deep, I don't want it.
Yeah. Precisely. So Money Heist, of course, we all saw it. Now, do you know it was released in 2017, right?
Yeah.
It was released in the beginning of 2017. It was only ever meant to be shown on Spanish TV. It was just this little show.
Yeah, you watched the documentary at the end, didn't you?
No, I haven't. But I've been reading a ton of articles, so I'm.
Oh my god!
I'm deep in it now.
So at the end of the season, Netflix
I'm aware of it. I'm aware. I'm saving it. Okay, like I'm saving it. I'm excited and I'm saving. I'm saving it. So it was only ever meant to be shown on. This isn't new to anyone. If you're watching this or listening to this and you're seasoned in your money heisting, cool. I'm just giving the context. Only ever meant to be shown. Little Spanish TV show, TV network. Netflix picked it up and they're like, sounds interesting. Yeah, chucked it up. By 2019, it's the biggest thing ever. It's currently one of Netflix's biggest things. It's their biggest shows. It's in the top 10 across the globe. So yeah, I just find it super interesting. There's 2 things I want to talk about when I talk about this, but it's the one, which is just how, even if you're a really small content creator, and like I use the word content creator very loosely here, but the people that are making the show, the producers, the writers who are excellent, by the way, phenomenal writers. The actual production, I am, the cinematography, I'm kind of less phased about. It's nothing.
God, I love it.
There's a couple of like 5-star moments. There's a couple of moments that I think are really nice, but
it's cohesive through the whole thing. That's what I like. Is that everything is intentional, and you just feel like you're in the show at all times.
That's true. Yeah, I find it difficult to get distracted. It's difficult to get distracted, and in many other shows, it's super easy to get distracted. 10 minutes in, and I'm like,
did you listen to it in Spanish or did you listen to it in English?
So this is what I want to talk about. I didn't watch it because it was in Spanish. Because not because it was in Spanish, because it was dubbed. If it is in the original language and I can watch in subtitles, then I have less of an issue. Like anime is a great example of this. There are some people are super into it even when it's dubbed. Others, I'd rather hear the original language and then I'll just read the subtitles. That's fine. I wasn't interested in watching Money Heist because I knew it was Spanish. Now, a couple of weeks back, I watched, I think I may have mentioned this in a previous episode, but I watched a series called Freud on Netflix.
Okay.
It's interesting enough. It was a good show, but it was in German. It was in German, but dubbed over in English. Now, I was also kind of skeptical at first, and then I found myself 3 episodes in, and then the same night I found I'd finished the season. So I was like, maybe this isn't so bad. So I gave Money Heist a try. Downhill from there, I just absolutely wrapped up, and for the last 5, I think we watched all 4.
Did you watch it dubbed?
I watched it dubbed, yeah. I thought it would really bother me, but I watched it dubbed.
You shouldn't watch it dubbed.
And a couple of episodes in, I was like, come on, this is silly. Why am I watching it in English if it's actually filmed in Spanish? And so I watched it in Spanish, and there was a scene where I'm not doing any spoilers, but anyway, Nairobi is giving a rousing speech, as she does. She's so eloquent, such a great character, so much oomph. She was giving this rousing, sort of inspirational speech to get the troops up and working. And I see it in English, and it's funny, you can tell it's dubbed even more when they're shouting. They're shouting, and you can see that the lips are moving in Spanish, and the words that are coming, it don't match. So I was like, okay, cool, let's go. I'll go back and I'll watch the subtitles, and I'll hear it. The voice is so wrong. It don't match. I don't like it. I know that that's her voice for that actual human being, but the English-American voice, now in my head, those two are now matched up. And I can't undo it now, and it's just so strange.
I'm so sad because I love it in Spanish. Like, so I watched...
Wait, do you speak Spanish?
Seasons. No.
Okay.
I can understand words. Like, I'm from California, so you know a little bit.
So some of it,
Spanish, you know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
But I'm not fluent by any stretch of the imagination. But I didn't want to watch it because of subtitles. Mm-hmm. I don't like things that are dubbed, and I also don't like reading. I like to watch Netflix and play on my phone. That's my favorite activity. You know what I mean? Like, have something on. So I put like something lighthearted, Community, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, something that I've seen already. Just chill, you know, like, and then I text.
It's background noise.
Play games, whatever. Exactly.
Yeah.
So when I commit to a new show, I can be there, but there's always something still going on in the background, whether that's a WhatsApp I need to respond to, or I need to do something quickly on my laptop. There's always something, right? Mm-hmm. And if it's a serious show, I can usually multitask because I can listen to what's happening and still do whatever I need to do. With Money Heist, you have to be 100% in because I don't understand Spanish. So I'm going to go and do something on my laptop real quick, and then there's a bunch of things happening in the background.
And it's so quick.
I have no idea.
It's so fast-paced.
So fast. And so I didn't want to give it a shot. And then one of my friends was like, honestly, what's wrong with you that you haven't watched the show? And I was like, yo, like, same thing as you. I don't come into the hype. Like, I'll watch it if I get a chance, but there's nothing, like, drawing me to it, right? Like, in my mind, it was like Narcos, which, again, I've watched the first season and then never watched anything else after that. Mm-hmm. Don't come for me. But like that, I was just like, it's just not there for me. So I sit down and watch the first 2 episodes, and then I have to go back to work. I kid you not, I was like fiending. I was like, I just want to go home, just go watch this show, just like... And I then proceed to stay up for the next several nights until like 2, 3, 4 a.m. trying to finish this show because I have to like work during the day. And this is the only hours I have to like actually sit and focus because you have to read the subtitles. Oh my God, it was stressful. But then I fell in love with every one of them.
Favorite character?
I would marry any one of them.
Favorite character?
What season?
Part 1 and 2.
Part 1 and 2? Oh. Rio.
Really?
I think he's my favorite forever. Because he's so innocent. Because he's just a kid. Because he just wants to play. And he just wants to, like, have fun. For badassery and just sheer, like, always down for the plan, Nairobi.
I was going to say Nairobi's mine. I think parts 1 through 4, everything, it's always Nairobi. Nairobi's the one for me. Yep.
Yeah. Because she's just down. She's just always down. She's just like...
And the morals, and you can never question her.
Because she's never doing it up until, and again, no spoils, up until one point, she never does anything selfishly. You know what I mean? Like, it's always for the team, for the heist, for... Like, when the guy who prints the money says that she is, like, she's the best boss he ever had.
That killed me. That killed me. I was dying. that
That's not a
that was the
spoiler,
one.
right? That's just like one line.
Oh man. So let's jump onto your piece of content, because otherwise I'll talk about Money Heist all day.
So you guys, today is May 4th.
May the 4th be with you.
Which is Star Wars Day. Very excited. I wore my Star Wars t-shirt today. And I haven't seen Mandalorian, which I was really bummed about because we didn't have Disney Plus for UAE for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously leading up to Star Wars Day, I was like, oh, I need to find somewhere that's streaming, like at least the original trilogy, and stumbled upon the fact that OSN is now streaming some of Disney Plus like stuff.
Okay.
Warning to the people out there, OSN for the Dubai people does not have the original trilogy on Disney Plus, but Mandalorian is there. So me and my flatmate started watching that, and I've read mixed reviews. There's a lot of people saying that it was too childish. There was like, it wasn't authentic or whatever. And to be honest, first of all, I'm the easiest Star Wars fan in the world. They produce shit, and I'm like, I love it.
just anything that adds to the universe, you're there.
Yeah, because okay, tell some story, right? Like everybody wasn't fully there for Solo, but like I still dug it. But Mandalorian is super good, at least so far. I think I'm only 4 or 5 episodes in, but I'm here for it.
So I want to get you've semi-answered it, but what are your thoughts on, or maybe let me reframe the question slightly. Do you feel like there should be restrictions on spin-offs in terms, and I'll be more specific, when there is a spin-off, because any successful franchise will want to do something, but do you think that there should be some rules that's like, okay, now you guys are reaching a bit too much? Like, is it only limited to like the main character? Should it only be limited to like where do you draw the lines on spin-off?
So in the Star Wars universe, there's a lot of like cartoon shows that are technically canon. I did not know that until last year. Mm-hmm. Which is cool. I need to watch them now, but it's a lot of stories of characters that you don't see in the major like feature films, which for me, I think is really cool. I wouldn't put a line on that unless you're unless you're actually not doing it canon.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And you're starting to alter what would have happened in
one of the actual feature pieces.
Correct.
Okay, I can vibe with that. I understand. So I'm a big, very very big Harry Potter fan. Big Lord of the Rings fan. Okay. I enjoy that kind of.
You haven't seen Star Wars?
Genre, but this is the thing. It's very different, and I'll explain why. So, adventure fantasy, very different from sci-fi.
Yeah.
Very different.
You want to know the funniest thing that is the problem? I'm gonna let you finish your point in a second. I don't like sci-fi films.
But you do though.
Apparently, but I've never seen Star Wars as sci-fi.
No, you don't have to. But the point is, put it this way: picture me, Michael, however old, whatever age, hasn't seen Lord of the Rings ever, only seen Harry Potter and read the books.
Right.
I don't register Harry Potter as adventure fantasy. You know, young adult, whatever you want to call the genre. You don't register it as whatever it is, but there are familiar themes, there are familiar storylines, the way that things behave, like the background concept and the rules that we take as gospel that would work in those worlds.
Right.
You then apply it, give it a different spin, change the story, and it still feels familiar and it still gives you the same kick, if that makes sense.
Yeah, but here's the thing, I don't like any other like sci-fi films. It's just Star Wars.
Star Trek?
Nope. Never watched it.
Then that's not really giving it a chance, is it?
Well, because I don't like the guy with the weird face.
Who's the guy with the weird face?
I don't know. He has those like horn weird. It looks like somebody grabbed him on the head too hard.
Wow. I have no idea who you're talking about. And I've seen Star Trek. Okay, good.
You know the guy I'm talking about. It looks like he has little fins on his head.
Fins on his head.
It's like made out of skin, but it's like. I'll send you a picture later.
I'm not gonna lie. I don't know.
You guys can see.
My point. So my yeah, fine. Okay, you don't like sci-fi. That's fine. I don't necessarily believe you. I don't think you've given it enough of a chance. I think if you were to see more sci-fi-ish stuff, I think you probably would be into it. My question.
You think so?
My next question for you. I do think so, and I'm not going to let you challenge me on it because I'm going to ask you another question. The next question I have is, Michael here hasn't seen Star Wars. I don't feel bad. Don't at me. Couldn't care less. But for someone like me, you're telling me that The Mandalorian is quite good and you're into it. How should I see it? Do I have to have seen all the Star Wars before I can even go near that, or could it be a good standalone series?
I don't think you would appreciate it as much having not seen the Star Wars.
Fair enough.
I think it's a good show regardless. I think you would. No, I don't know. Because you're attached to Yoda. Because you know Yoda. You're attached to Mando.
Can you enjoy it if you Fett. Can you enjoy it if you understand the concept of Yoda? Because I'm sure everyone does. I'm sure everyone knows the young Padawan. Like everyone knows the idea of Yoda. Everyone gets it.
Yeah, but so I don't know if this is a spoiler or not, but Yoda's a baby. Yoda doesn't talk. You're just seeing a cute little baby, and most of the story is Mandalorian. It's about Mando. So it's more appreciating the world and the players involved in it and the kind of how everything's working.
Okay, I understand.
So I would say yes, because you don't need any prior knowledge really.
Okay. But if you are super into Star Wars, you'd appreciate it.
Yeah, because it's just a familiar.
Okay, I get that. Interesting. Okay, well then, fine. I will endeavor to watch one episode of The Mandalorian, and then I will give you my feedback.
Yay!
And I know that you haven't seen The Lord of the Rings.
So are you opposed? I've seen the first one.
Have you seen the Hobbit films?
No.
Ooh, that's a problem.
I know. So the thing is, I really liked the first one, but
they're long. They're very long.
It.
They're very long. Yeah.
And you have to.
And you got to pay attention.
So, exactly. Yep. And that's where my problem lies.
I appreciate the attention span issue, and I get you. So fair enough. When you it took me like 4 times to watch the first one because I kept putting it on at night and then falling asleep.
And I would fall asleep.
Yep.
And it wasn't like not interested. It was just like it's like 10 p.m. I'm like laying down. I'm on the couch. I'm cozy.
My thing is I don't sleep anyway, so that's never an issue for me. Even if I don't enjoy it, I'm still awake and I'm like, oh, this is terrible. So I don't even have that excuse.
The second I'm cozy, I'm out. It's over.
No, not a thing. The next thing I want to talk today about the concept of, and I don't want to take too much time on it, but I just want to kind of get your thoughts on it. I think that scarcity is a very interesting concept because I think that the way that we approach it is quite strange almost. So, and I'll give you a couple of examples. So we know about everybody sort of mass purchasing toilet rolls.
Right.
During the announcement, which obviously leads to scarcity of said product. What else has also been mass purchased? Nintendo Switches. Everybody's trying to buy Nintendo Switches, but they're sold out all the time. I think, and I find it interesting that when there is scarcity, that kind of supply-demand curve is messed up. When it comes to scarcity in terms of things like creativity and like intellectual property, like things like that, people who have ideas, and someone were to say, I have the best ideas in the world. I'm only going to have 10 ideas a month. Ideas for a business, and each business is guaranteed to make you help you make revenue of $1 million a year. and I'm going to sell these 10 ideas a month. And I'm going to sell it to the highest bidder. Imagine he sort of does this for a couple of months. He then says, and everybody who bought ideas from him in the previous month is well on their way to making $1 million.
Okay.
He now drops it down. He's like, I'm not going to sell 10 ideas a month anymore. I'm now going to sell 5. And everybody who's looking at this like, holy shit. And then he says, yeah, but those 5 ideas are going to make you $2 million. And as you sort of generate this scarcity, and it doesn't even have to be real scarcity, but the way that people behave, I find fascinating. You know, diamonds aren't all that rare. Everyone treats it like it's this super, super rare. Like, oh my God, diamonds, diamonds, diamonds. And maybe it's a little bit tinfoil hat conspiracy-ish, but I think it was in the early 1900s, mid 1900s. There was an organization that controlled the supply. So they had plenty of it, but they wouldn't release it out onto the market in big batches. They would only release it in tiny, tiny increments, running the prices up. In the same way that we were talking about the oil prices the other day, where we're like, okay, well, we've got to control the supply to make sure the demand is up. Because if there's too much of something, the value just disappears. Do you think, that's a very, very long-winded explanation to provide context for this question. Do you think that creators are bad at creating scarcity? And that maybe they should introduce a little bit of scarcity?
I think creators are bad at a lot more than just scarcity.
But I mean, could it help them? Could it help a bit? Obviously, there are other factors involved.
So then scarcity in content, for me, at least how I would, in relationship to how you just explained it, is based on price.
Mm-hmm.
And scarcity isn't in content in general, it's for a specific skill set and usually a specific person. There's a reason why there's certain photographers who usually shoot celebrities, and there's a handful in every city or every country, depending on where you're going, who are on this list to shoot certain like A-list celebrities, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or why you have a handful of directors who are called to do certain niche films, right? If you have an action film or sci-fi film or whatever you're doing, like there's certain directors or producers that you call, right?
Sure.
And I think that's how scarcity is made, because also with that comes a certain cost. I think that's the only way that it's made, is that you're not necessarily out of photographers or photographs, but maybe the one that you want. It may be just out of reach, whether it's price, location, availability, so on and so forth.
Because I've seen some super interesting examples of this as well. Because there's guys that do like custom sneakers on Instagram, for example.
Mm-hmm.
They're creating customized Air Force Ones. They're buying just a blank pair of white Air Force Ones, and then they're just doing some really fucking cool stuff with it. And they're like, I'm only releasing 20 of these at a price of $150, and then if you want a pair of those, I'll make them custom for you, but it's going to cost you at least $500. And some of them have released their kind of like how they performed on the back of those, and they did really well. They did really, really well.
So tell me what your idea for then would be for content creators.
So
or
now, obviously,
in general.
when I said there's plenty of other factors involved as well, obviously, there's things like needing an audience. There's things like needing the demand in the first place. For something to be considered scarce, the supply needs to be lower than the demand. That's just the basics of economics.
Right.
Let's say you have demand, and that may be the case that you are creating X number of pieces of. Let's use a YouTuber as an example, because I'm interested in YouTube. So
there's a guy that I follow, and I actually what's named him on Patreon. We're on Patreon too, by the way. So
hey, we're
below.
on Patreon, guys.
So anyway, I supported him on Patreon for a good couple of months. Super, super interesting guy. He lives in Paris, and he did a vlog a day about living in Paris. And it was just his life. He's an American dude. He was living there as an expat. Very interesting guy. It was vlog a day, vlog a day, vlog a day, vlog a day. And he did, I think, maybe 1,200 days of one vlog every day without fail. 1,200 days. Now that's what's generating his demand. Now, after 1,200 days, he's earned a well-deserved break. And he says, actually, I'm going to change up the way that I do things now. And I'm going to release one vlog a week because there's other things that I want to focus on. His numbers on Patreon went up. But very, very interesting. And his Patreon numbers went up a fair bit. Like, he's doing well. He's doing really well. Like, as a YouTube content creator, he's also a writer. He does voiceover artist, voiceover work. He's an interesting dude. But so I found that's just an interesting shift in the way that it works, because when it comes to content, you would think when it comes to scale and scarcity that when someone makes more, that people react better. But there's also obviously that as you add more volume, it kind of cheapens it a bit, and people are like,
right.
You know, I see him all the time.
Exactly.
Don't worry about it. Can you create false scarcity?
Yeah, people do it all the time, but I think the way creators do it isn't. See, this is I'm putting it in relationships specifically to photography and videography. But I feel like creators outside of that, like if you don't look at just those two mediums, do it all the time with like webinars and stuff like that. Realistically, a webinar can have like unlimited people, but they go, we're only taking 30.
But does it work though?
Honestly, it goes back to your original point of having an audience. Of course, you have to have an audience first. So it depends on if you do, and it depends on the relationship you've built with them.
Have you seen when creators on Instagram make their accounts private?
Yes.
And then you see they've still got like 170,000 followers. Is that literally what we're talking about? They're creating scarcity. They're like, oh no, it's private, but you can't see it unless you subscribe. If you do it like that, do the people that accept it, that applied to follow you, does that kind of make it like, well, that's a little bit bullshit?
I to be honest, people who are using these tactics, I think aside from like meme accounts and stuff like that, are using it as a way to, I don't want to say trick you, but trick you into subscribing, or trick you into following. Basically, by the time they approve you, you're going to forget why you even followed them in the first place.
That happens all the time. I do that all the time. Yeah, okay, I understand. I get you. So yes. So let me tell you about this other dude. He's a marketing consultant. So clever. So clever. He talks about some of the most interesting stuff. I think he's public. But he only ever keeps it to between 1,500 and 2,000 followers. And he has this massive thing where he's like, if you have a fake page, not a fake page, but if you like a page that's not really you, so like there's no profile photo, there's no, like it's just a troll account that you use to go and follow people and see what everyone else is doing without them seeing you looking at them.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. So he has this thing where he vets his followers constantly. So if people aren't looking at his stories, if people aren't like, because there's ways that you can, with your insights, see what your kind of engagement and what your viewership is.
Right.
So he vets out these followers and deletes them. He blocks them. Because it's his belief that he would rather have, and I mean he's not dying to get money off Instagram. Like he's more than well paid. He is perfectly fine. But
to have 1,500 people who are
highly engaged,
exactly,
compared to
it's better than
50,000 that just are bullshit accounts that aren't going to fucking say anything.
And
anyway.
You have like only 1% engagement. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
So this idea of scarcity, and what's funny is that as a follower, and you see him posting on his stories like, "Hey, I'm about to go cut off a few people," you're like, "Oh shit, let me click like." Because, and as you say, it's not tricking you, but it's like it's generating this idea of like, oh my god, my seat is gonna get taken. All right, cool. Don't take my seat at this table. I like it.
I like being inside this club.
Yeah, and so I think there's a couple of interesting examples of, and we talk about needing the demand to make it scarce, but you only really need 1,500 highly engaged people,
Yeah.
which for any other account who's got 150,000, if your engagement is at 1%, 1,500 that's all you're going to have anyway. So you're going to have all of these other people that aren't engaged, but you've got 150,000 followers.
Yeah, it's
but ain't
just
nobody
status
liking
at
your
that
posts.
point, like,
No one's looking at your stories. So it's kind of pointless.
Agreed.
Interesting times on the interwebs and the social medias.
That's the thing with me. Like, I went through the people I'm following, like, not too long ago, and it was just because I kept seeing a bunch of accounts that, like,
time.
Yeah, where I was just like having to unfollow. So I just like sat down one day to go through, just because it drowns out the actual content that I want to see.
Yep.
And so I prefer to just like not even have it there. And
are you really precious about what you share, like on your stories and stuff?
No, I shared like 10 stories today just about Star Wars. No, my stories are where I get to post whatever I want, and if you don't like it, don't watch it.
Fair enough.
For me though, but that's also because like I like to share a lot. Like, okay, so in the sharing all my Star Wars posts, I went back and was looking at the kind of content I used to post, 4 or 5 years ago, and it was just like memes or a picture of my food, or I don't know, the Saudi flag for a Saudi National Day, like...
Yeah.
There's a home for that now. All of that garbage goes to my stories. Doesn't make the front page news feed, you know what I mean? Like, if you feel that passionate about that meme, you just stick that right in that stories, and that will be gone in 24 hours.
Yeah, and you don't ever have to feel bad for posting it ever again. Yeah.
So for my stories, no, I just post whatever I want. I occasionally try to line it up with if I'm posting like a specific post that I actually want to draw attention to, whether that's my poetry or the podcast or something. So that they're saying to go to each other, go watch the story for this or go watch the posts for that. But most of the time my stories are just my playtime.
Makes sense.
You don't post at all. So I would ask you the same question.
I'm really bad at social media in general, I'd say.
Hey, if you're watching
personally
this video because you saw something on Michael's personal content.
No, don't do that. Help me out, guys. If there's any of you that are here, help me out. You don't lie to her. She wouldn't know. Just say it.
I want to know.
Just if you're watching this.
I want to know.
Just
Michael's
if anyone's watching this, help me out here. look at how popular I am, Mom. Love you, Mom.
Michael's mom's in the comments. It's a really, really good podcast. Good job, Michael. We got your mom's support.
Yeah. Nothing can fail when Mom is around. Well, listen, the fact that we've gotten to speaking about my mom again in the 58th minute, that means that it's time to call it a day with this episode. Is this 7? We're on episode 7?
Episode 7.
I'm so happy that we're on episode 7. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I can't wait to be on episode 77. I'm not wishing the time away, but I'm enjoying this podcast. So
we're gonna be like, it's episode 77. Nobody's producing any content because everybody's locked inside. Only topics that are about Corona.
Even the non-Corona topics have dried up. There's nothing.
There's nothing new. Trump's tweets are dry.
Oh goodness, Trump will be. Yeah. Okay. No. All right. Anyway, moving swiftly along. Thank you all very much for watching and listening. If you are listening to this on Apple, Stitcher, Spotify, any of those, please do leave us ratings, reviews, comments. We would love to hear from you. It would also help us a lot to get this to other people. If you are watching on YouTube, please by all means subscribe, hit that notification button, drop a like and a comment. There's many things I'm asking from you, but I do it because I love you and I hope that you love me.
They're free, do them.
Yeah, they're free. Don't be stingy. But thank you all so much for watching and supporting along the way. We of course have our Patreon page if you'd like to support us in helping us make better content more often. Alternatively, if you don't want to help us out every month, you can just buy us a coffee. It would be greatly appreciated. And on that note, I am out. Alysia, over to you.
Bye, guys.
Because in my head, like, it's weird. Like, I could picture myself doing it on stage, and I could picture the lines coming out, the delivery. I could picture the people laughing, like the awkward pause, that, you know, all of that. And then when I read back over it the next day, I'm like, ooh, no, honey, what was you doing?
Yeah, but is that your shame filter where you feel like embarrassed or something like that, or is that legit like not good?
Oh, maybe. I don't know. That's a good point. I don't know. It could be. I don't know. I hadn't thought of that.